Today, I want to show you exactly how to use custom audiences correctly, whether you're setting up lookalikes, you're setting up retargeting campaigns, or however else you want to use these. I want to make sure they're set up and you planned out exactly what you want to do, so that way you can get the best results out of all of your campaigns. So let's jump into it right now. Let's look at the difference between custom audiences and lookalikes. So custom audiences themselves are going to be the audiences that you're building. The lookalikes are going to be the audiences that you're building off of those custom audiences. So when you're using retargeting, you're going to be using that custom audience specifically because that has your absolute best customer source, the exact customer source actually, for who did the exact action. So whether it's somebody clicking on a post, visiting a website page, watching a video, we want to get back in front of these individuals through these audiences that we're going to build known as custom audiences. And what we want to do though next is we want to set up our lookalike audiences. And the main difference is lookalike audiences are actually going to go into the system and find individuals based on the algorithm that look like the people that you're feeding the information. That's why it's so important to give it a lot more information there than your retargeting audiences alone. The first thing that we want to go over is custom audiences and why we want to keep those short if we're doing them for retargeting. So we want to have those maybe between a day, 15 days, max I'd probably say is 30 days. And that's if you kind of have one ad and one reason for them to do something. Other than that, I'd even have it way less than that, like 5-10 days on there. So what we're doing is we're taking the people that have taken that action and we're putting new ads or the same ad in front of those individuals. My preference, of course, is always new, fresh creative in front of someone. And that's why I say the 5 days. So even if you're going to track them over the next 30 days and you want to keep putting messages in front of them, you might have different messages that you want in front of that individual. So you have, they watched your first video for the first 5 days, anyone that watched 50% or more. You might have on the third video, as you go through the kind of sequence there, you might have the third video where you want people to actually stay in that one for about 7 days and keep seeing that one over and over again until they kind of break out of that and watch the full thing. Because maybe you see a certain trend in how people are watching the videos, whatever it is, we want to go ahead and have those specific dates. So you have, 5 for the first video, 5 for the second video. Now we go into the third video. Okay, now we remarket based on who's actually come to the website. We can do all this kind of in the background in a non-linear, but it's easiest just to kind of show it as linear. So you can see how you go from video 1, video 2, you exclude video 1 audience, you have video 3 that you exclude video 2, and so on and so forth until you get to the actual end and the objective that you want that individual to take. So you might have a different complete ad that's on the side running here that people came to your website, but I think we kind of get the idea of custom retargeting audiences from the custom audiences that we're building. The next thing that we want to do, we want to go and talk about lookalike audiences. So these audiences, as I mentioned before, we want to feed it the absolute amount of data we can, the most amount. So if you have a customer list of people for the last 5 years, upload that. Okay, there's no time restriction on audiences that you're uploading. Now, if your customers have changed, that's one thing I'd very much think of. So maybe in the last 6 months, year, 2 years, your audience has kind of changed a little bit. Your whole market has kind of changed from what it was before. Maybe your product is hitting someone else that it wasn't before. You found a great new way to actually get in front of someone for a cheaper cost, and that audience is so much better than someone you had. Well, you don't want to take the information from your pixel, your video views, any of that, and feed that to those audiences. Same thing goes for those lists that you're updating. Okay, so that's why on Google you have up to 540 days. On Facebook and Instagram, it's either 180 to 360 days that you can use your past data. It does depend on the type of lookalike audience that you're doing and the custom audience that you're building to begin with. But the biggest thing is when you're uploading your data, you want to use that same exact measure. Everybody just takes their past customers, uploads it into there. And that's actually a huge problem that I see with a lot of my clients is when we take all of that data and we put it up there and their customers actually changed, we're not uploading the best data that Facebook can look at. We're uploading the data of possibly multiple profiles of individuals that, they span quite a bit of distance. We want to get it pretty narrowed down and focused in for the individuals that we actually want to go after. So if we have people that have changed over the last 2 years, it's not going to be effective for that data. So what we want to do is we want to build the largest audiences that we can through custom audiences. whether that's on Facebook and Instagram and it's the 100 or 365 days, or it's going to be on Google and you're going to be running those on, say, YouTube or something like that, and it's 540 days, whatever it is, if your customer hasn't changed, you want to give that information to the algorithms. The algorithms are going to take this. They're going to look for individuals that are very, very similar to the data that you're giving them. And then we're going to put them out there. So hopefully you see the vast, vast differences for when you're creating a custom audience if you're retargeting versus if you're creating a custom audience and building a lookalike off of that. The absolute best piece of information, though, even before you do this, that I can give you that has really, really changed a lot of different campaigns and ad structures that I work with people on, is writing it down. Write down what you want from the top of your campaign, the ads, the ad sets, everything that you want, your demographics, your this, everything that's going to hit your new campaign that you're going to build, and then build out your remarketing audiences based off of how you want that customer to be brought through your journey. And then what you want to do is actually build that on the system. So if you are just in the system right now and you're building things, you haven't thought it through. You may be messing things up and making it so convoluted that you have tons of custom audiences that you don't need, lookalike audiences you don't need. You have to scroll through them. You forget which ones were which. That's why it's so important to name them exactly what you want. So that way, when you're referencing them later, you know what you're building your lookalikes off of, and you also know what custom audiences you're choosing when you're setting up your ad sets. So I hope this helps, and I just want to recap real quick. Outline everything first. When you're creating your custom audiences for retargeting, you are going to want a much shorter time period, which is, again, what we already figured out when we wrote everything down. And then your custom audiences or audiences that you're uploading from your remarketing list, say it's an email list or a phone number list or whatever it is, that audiences are going to make a much better lookalike than if you just take the same retargeting audiences that you've built out for custom audiences and try to make lookalikes off of those. So separate them up. I know it's going to have custom audiences that you're never going to use back there, but they're being used to build those lookalikes. I hope you liked this video. I hope you thought it was very useful. I'm going to be coming out with more of these tips and tricks. I'm kind of focusing down on YouTube a little bit more, getting more videos for you. So please like, subscribe, hit that bell, get the notifications, and I look forward to seeing you in the next videos.